to our witnesses for being here today. I will say it is a new low for this majority to refuse to even discuss, let alone conduct oversight of the president's invasion of Venezuela and potentially U.S. partners around the world. This committee has never made itself as irrelevant to our country's foreign policy as it is right now. And I don't know how this majority expects to credibly call out the dangers of China's AI capabilities if Trump is committing the same coercion, exploitation, and imperialism they warn could come from China. I call that cognitive dissonance. But if we're going to talk about AI and the AI competition with the PRC, then we also need to sound the alarm about how Trump is causing us to lose the AI race. So at his meeting with Xi Jinping in October, Trump bailed himself out of his own trade war by negotiating away new export restrictions. So since then, he has reportedly prohibited new export controls on China to avoid rocking the boat, leaving us with less tools and leverage than before he started his trade war. So, Mr. Feiner, would you say that removing our ability to impose new restrictions on the AI technology sold to China is detrimental to protecting U.S. leadership in AI?
Representative, I would agree with that statement, yes.
Thank you very much. So I'm hearing a lot of excuses that it could be worse. But that's not what I want to hear. I don't think that's what the American people want to hear when we're talking about national security. So, Mr. Pottinger, does giving China up to half the amount of H-200s that American customers have access to significantly boost China's global competitiveness in AI?
It's damaging to the U.S. national security interest and to our commercial interest. I mean, the interest of U.S. companies. You know, every time one of these chips is made, even in H-200, which is slightly, less capable than
the F-35 instead of the F-47.
Right, the F-35 and the F-47. It means that there's less capacity available to make actually the more advanced chips that American companies want. And that's because many of the components that go into the chips are the same. So for example, there are high bandwidth memory chips that are made by a company in Korea that go into the H-200s that we'd be selling to China, as well as into H-300s and other chips that American companies are buying. That means it's zero sum. The more chips that NVIDIA makes for China, the fewer that will be available for American companies.
That's right. So basically, these chips are a big deal. And I want to say that the most powerful AI chip on the market right now are the Grace Blackwells, but Trump lifted restrictions on the sale of a very advanced, the F-35, H-200s. And we do know that Trump is visiting China in April. We don't know if he will eventually put the sale of Blackwells to China back on the table. We don't really know that. So, Mr. Pottinger, you've previously said that selling Blackwells to China would be catastrophic for U.S. technology leadership. Do you stand by that statement?
Certainly.
Okay, thank you. We also know that Trump's BIS has created a massive backlog of license applications to even low-risk countries, and that is holding up billions of dollars in potential R&D funding for our chip industry, because we know that AI innovation is supported by the revenue that U.S. semiconductor firms invest back into R&D. So, Mr. Feiner, would you say that this recipe that I just mentioned undercuts our global competitiveness?
Not only do I agree with that, I think the addition of now what looks to be a very complex review that will have to be undertaken with regard to the rule that was promulgated last night, and I've just started to dig into it like everybody else. The fact that that is going to be a time-intensive, labor-intensive review involving multiple factors, hard verification. By the way, verification that's going to depend in some cases on the attestations of Chinese companies about who their customers ultimately are. That does not suggest to me that this backlog is going to get shorter. And the idea that we're going to be doing this labor-intensive review to have chips end up going to China as opposed to partners, allies, and other places, to me, does not strike me as the best possible use of BIS resources.
You're being very kind. Thank you for your responses, Mr. Chair. I yield back.
Representative yields back. I would say know your customer, know your client requirements are very significant. I applaud the administration for putting those in there. Now I recognize Representative Burchett.